I'd like to bring the meeting to order. This is the Historic District Commission. The date is November 18th, 2021. The time is 4:15. This hearing was published in the Fairfield Citizen on November 12th. You can take attendance. Call your name, Rosina Negron.
Rosina Negron, Commissioner.
Thank you. Darren Raymond Locke.
Darren Raymond Locke, Commissioner.
Thank you. Mark Ravanis.
Yeah, Commissioner Art Gravanis. Thank you.
Thank you. Alyssa Stack. I see Alyssa, her audio is malfunctioning once again. You sure you're not muted? No, you're not muted on. Okay, Alyssa is present. She's having audio difficulties. Hopefully she can resolve those during the meeting. Jim Bohan.
J.C. Bohan, alternate commissioner.
Thank you. And Chris Shea is absent, but I know he's on his way. So he'll show up later. And George Clark is absent at the moment. Okay, first item on the agenda is, oh, and I'm Adam Cliver, Commissioner, present. First item on the agenda is Jessica and Mitch McManus, 1088 Harbor Road in Southport, for property located at 1088 Harbor Road in Southport, for A, remove existing garage, B, new garage, C, lights on garage, D, extend driveway gravel, E, new fence, and F, paver outline to fieldstone parking area. I do not see Jessica in the audience.
Adam, I have to recuse myself.
Okay. Darren Raymond Locke is recusing herself for this application.
Chairman.
Is there someone here to present?
Yes, Chairman Chris Russo. I'm here to present on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you.
Chairman, members of the commission, Chris Russo, on behalf of Jessica and Mitch McManus for the property located at 1088 Harbor Road. Have offices Russo and Rizzio LLC at 10 Sasco Hill Road in Fairfield. Here on a application that probably looks very familiar because it's already been before you in essentially its exact form recently. I could share screen here. One second. Okay. So the, oh, you know what? Actually, wait, sorry a second. I think I messed that up. There we go. Okay. Yeah, this is a proposal to, as was heard previously, and I apologize for, obviously the redundancy of it and going through it again fully, but I do have to make sure you'll probably notice that Attorney Green is on the line to speak in opposition to this application. So for purposes of the record, going to run through this full application again and speak on it, just for the sake of building an accurate record as to this application. The proposal is to destroy or remove, I should say, a existing garage that is currently located in this area. It's only about 2 feet off of the neighboring property line. It's pre-existing non-conforming garage, and my client is proposing to demolish this garage, which has no architectural or historical significance. It was built in the 80s, and the proposal is to construct a new garage which will be fully conforming to the zoning regulations, particularly with regards to side step back. It will now be located 10.2 feet off of this neighboring property line to the south. And all the design plans were submitted with this application. You can see it's a two-car detached garage. It's actually almost exactly similar to a garage that was approved by the Historic District Commission at the property at 171 Old South Road, except this garage is actually a little bit smaller than that previously approved garage. Detached garages are obviously very common in Southport. I don't know where that noise is coming in from. Okay. Anyway, detached garages are obviously extremely common in Southport, including both of the abutting properties along Harbor Road to this property. The only difference actually is that this proposed garage will be completely conforming to the zoning regulations. The other neighboring two properties have a non-conforming detached garage with regards to step back, but not this proposed one. It will be completely conforming, and it will completely eliminate an existing non-conformity. It's proposed for a cedar shingle roof and siding to match the existing house. It is proposed to have two wooden garage doors and three recessed can lights, which will be facing down, so they will not be visible. I know that had been a request previously from the commission. The proposed windows will match the existing house, and there will be this dormer with a metal roof on top of it. Again, that design is essentially an exact match of the garage that was approved at 171 Old South Road. Metal seam roof is something you see throughout the historic district. There's property at 860 Pequot Avenue that has a large metal roof, and that's you can see right here. Here's the existing garage. And you can see right here how close it gets to the neighbor's side property line. Again, it's only 2.6 feet off of that property line, which is pre-existing non-conforming. By removing this structure and placing it to the right, it will become completely conforming. This picture right here is actually a rendering that shows how, by shifting it further north and 10 feet away from that property line, actually uses the existing house to screen a portion of this garage. This picture here shows the three can lights that are proposed for the front of the garage, be pointing downward. This is an existing light that is on the existing garage. That light is going to be reused. It will be placed along the side of the garage. This is the existing gravel material, and all we're proposing is to extend that gravel area with the same type of material. This is the style of the proposed fence, just traditional fully screened wood fencing. This is the property that's directly to the north of my client's property. You can see here, it's got a very large detached garage, two-car garage, which actually has an additional story above it. So it's significantly larger than than the proposed garage. This is the property to the south, right next door to the south. Similar to this garage, we are proposing our new garage to be pushed more towards the center of the site, so the main house will screen the garage. The only difference is that this garage is actually on the rear property line, is non-conforming as to rear setback, whereas our garage is conforming to all setback requirements. This is the property at 171 Old South Road, garage that was just approved by this commission. You could see very similar in the style that that we are proposing. The only difference really is this. If you can look here on this right side, there's an additional window, so this is actually a wider garage than the one we're proposing. But similar to kind of what we're doing, it's matching in its roof style, roof materials, and its siding, which is exactly what we are intending to do. It's another example of a large detached garage. This one essentially 3 bays and a story above, significantly larger than ours. And this is an overhead view of the site and the neighboring properties. You could see there's our neighbor to the south who has their detached garage right here along the rear property line. Ours will be moved away from this side property line towards the middle of the site, but not pushed back to the rear like this one, so it'll be conforming. And you can see our neighbor to the north, who similarly has a very large detached garage tucked along the side and rear property line. One of the other requests in the application is for a paver bordering around the parking area that's at the front of our client's site. You could see that if I go back up to this aerial, you could see that parking area here in the front, which will help, to just make some definition of the parking area and make it a little bit tidier. In addition, my client plans, there's currently stones there, and they are intended either plant grass or moss or some type of natural pillar in between all those stones. There's a picture of they've already kind of started a little bit, but they're gonna fill in with grass in between all these stones there. And so the intent would be for pavers to outline this parking area to just provide a border to it. And those are the materials that have been submitted with this application. Again, I know that you have already heard this before, so it's coming back for you again. And I know that our Attorney Green is intending to speak. And I guess I will, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And just reserve my right to respond to Attorney Green's comments after he makes them, and any other members of the public.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Russo. Just want to note that Chris Shea has joined the meeting at 4:29, and he'll not be voting on this application since he came in late. But Alyssa Stack and Jim Bohan will be voting on this, the alternates. Okay, let's go around and Rosina, do you have any questions?
No questions?
Okay, thank you. Art, do you have any questions?
None for me, Adam. Thank you.
Thank you. Alyssa, do you have audio? Want to text me? No questions? Okay. Jim Bohan, do you have any questions?
Chris, if I may, Can you elaborate on the metal roof on the garage? I'm confused. I see the garage that you cited on 171 Old South Road. That seems to be totally wood. Just can you elaborate on what area of the roof will be metal?
Yeah, sure. Let me share my screen again. Hold on a second. I'm sorry, I may have misstated, but it was 860 Pequot Avenue, I think was the address that has the metal roof. But okay, here we go.
It's there, yeah. Now, what part of that is metal?
This area right above the dormer here, and then also right here on the rear elevation. So on both the front and the rear elevation, you can see here it says the new metal roofing, and I believe in the previous approval, which we would happily accept as a stipulation to any approval, it said there was a stipulation that the roof shingles on the garage match the roof of the house as they are proposed, and that the dormer roofs are standing seam metal. And so we, be happy to agree to that stipulation as part of a possible approval.
If I may, what's the purpose of the metal there?
I think just due to its, obviously being in a coastal area, and for withstanding all the weather and providing some waterproofing, the applicant felt that a metal roof was appropriate.
And you're comfortable with its appropriateness in the historic district?
Yes, I believe there's numerous examples of metal roofing throughout the historic district, including the 860 Pequot Avenue. But certainly it's something that can be seen in on various properties within the historic district.
Okay,
But
thank you very much.
It's in character. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I just want to note that George Clark has joined the meeting around 4:30. Mr. Russo, I do not have any questions on this application.
Can I ask one more thing, Adam?
Of course, Rosina. Yep.
What is the width or the area of the stone that it's being proposed in the parking?
They're your traditional pavers. I will look and try to see if I could figure out what is the width of the of those pavers, the dimensions of them. I'll work on getting an answer to that. I don't have it on hand right now, but I will try while we're there's some public comments that see if I can get the answer to that question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rosina. At this time, I'd like to read some letters that were submitted in favor of the application and read them into the record. The first one is from Michael Brennan. Dear Mr. Cliver, I'm a docent involved with historical programming at the Fairfield Museum, the Pequot Library, and the Lockwood Matthews Mansion Museum in Norwalk. Several years ago, I was asked by the Pequot Library to develop a historical walking tour of Southport, which has become an ongoing program for the past 3 years. The tour focuses on those architectural highlights and historical settings of the village, which led to its designation as both a state and national historic district. I've been asked to weigh in on the citation and summons against the Historic District Commission approval of the application for certificate of appropriateness involving the alterations to the garage at 1088 Harbor Road. The citation contends that such alterations would interfere and adversely impact the historic character of the plaintiff's property and the historic district in which it is located. I would respectfully agree with the HGC's decision that the applicant's proposal would result in neither of those outcomes, to which I would add the opinion that, although situated within the historical district, there is nothing particularly historical about either of the properties involved, lovely as they may be. The historical interest and significance of that end of Harbor Road involves the land lying directly across the street on the river side of Harbor Road. On this land was built the wharf and the shipyard, which jump-started Fairfield's commercial revival following the destruction during the Revolutionary War. It is perhaps interesting to note that part of that land comprises the plaintiff's front lawn, to which significant alterations were recently made with HCC approval. A much better case could be made to oppose those alterations than the construction of a completely non-intrusive setback garage. It is inconceivable that the HCC would approve the former and deny the latter. I would be happy to answer any questions you may have. Sincerely, Michael Brennan, 1107 Uncle Road, Fairfield. The next letter is from Kristen Scott Supernaw. Dear Mr. Cliver, the purpose of this email is to support the moving of the McManus garage closer to our property line, which directly abuts the McManus property line. We similarly endorsed years ago the movement of the McMahon garage for McManus neighbors closer to our property line. Kristen Scott Supernaw, 247 Willow Street, Southport. This is from Ellis Weatherly. I have recently become aware of the fact that there is some opposition to the enlargement of the garage at 1088 Harbor Road, owned by Mitch and Jessica McManus. They wish to enlarge their existing one-car garage, which was built many years ago, into a two-car garage. Their garage is in their backyard and should not have any impact on the character or beauty of Harbor Road. I have no objection to the enlargement of this garage, and hope they will get permission to do so. Sincerely, Michael and Elise Weatherly, 1036 Harbor Road. The next one is from Drusilla Graham. Dear Mr. Cliver, my name is Drusilla Graham, and I live at 275 Willow Street in Southport, neighbor at 1088 Harbor Road. McManus would like to build a two-car garage in place of the existing one-car garage. In support of their plans, I would like to notify you that my husband and I feel it absolutely appropriate for the McManuses to have a two-car garage in this day and age. It will not be seen by the public, only neighbors such as us and the adjoining neighbors, the Supernaws, who are also in support of the garage. Thank you for your consideration of this recommendation. Drusilla Graham. And at this time, I'd like to ask anyone in the hearing would like to speak in favor of this application publicly. I don't see anyone raising their hand. And would anyone care to speak against this application? Mr. Green, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission and staff. My name is Joel Green. I practice law in Bridgeport, the law offices of Green and Gross. It's my pleasure to appear before this commission this afternoon on behalf of 1100 Harbor Road LLC, the owner of the abutting property. Initially, I just before I get into my presentation on sort of the merits of the application, I want to make a comment. I had written to the chair this afternoon when I reviewed the agenda, and I saw that the public, the general public, does not have an opportunity to participate in the hearing, and this is something I had actually raised last month. And I don't want my remarks to be interpreted as a criticism of this commission. I appreciate the good work that you do and the service that you provide to the town. But I am concerned, and I spend quite a bit of time appearing before boards, bodies, and commissions throughout Connecticut. And I am concerned about the ability of the public to fully participate in public hearings. And I had, again, raised this before. In fairness, I did not really look at your agenda. The chairman was good enough to provide me with the agenda and instructions for logging on Monday, but I looked at it, frankly, this afternoon just before I logged on and So I did email the commission, and I do think that the public should have full access. I also offered some comments on the files, and I note that the file of the commission, the hard file, is not the same in every respect with that which is online. There is and I didn't go through the file carefully, but I noted that there was a site plan that's not included in the online file, and that concerns me. So I just wanted to bring those issues to the commission's attention. I do have a number of comments I'd like to make, but my client has retained Todd Bryant, who is in the call this afternoon or online, and he actually has another commitment at 5 o'clock. So based on it being almost 4:45, I am going to alter the order of my presentation, and I'm going to ask Mr. Bryant to step in. And Todd, if you could, with your permission, Mr. Chair, I'd like to alter that and allow Mr. Bryant to make his presentation.
Yes, of course. Mr. Green, I just want to point out that the public is allowed to speak at this meeting. So just to correct your comment.
Okay.
And
I didn't.
you can go ahead and have your
Fair enough.
Mr. Todd speak.
All right.
Thank you. So who would you like to speak?
Todd Bryant.
Okay, can he identify?
Probably want to
himself?
unmute myself, right?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Better,
Thank you.
yes. Now, yeah, I'm Todd Bryant. I'm an architectural historian and a historic preservation consultant. I have a master's in historic preservation from Goucher College that I received in 2008, and I've been working in the field ever since, doing state and national register nominations, tax credits, state and federal historic rehabilitation tax credits, and a number of other consulting jobs, inventories, things like that. So when I took a look at these drawings, it occurred to me that this district is primarily in the colonial revival style, which was popularized, of course, by McKim, Mead, and White at the end of the 19th century and really took hold at the beginning of the 20th century and has really not left us, I don't think, and probably never will. And these houses are all designed based on colonial models or federal models, Georgian or federal models for the most part. And this proposed garage all looks, in fact, almost like it's a craftsman style more than a colonial revival one. There's nothing in its design that, it's drawn from either the Georgian or federal styles. The general feel of it is far more craftsman-like, which would have been sometime between about 1905 and 1920. And I just don't think that based on that, it really complements the rest of the neighborhood. It becomes something that looks unlike everything else. So in that respect, I don't think it, I just don't think it works in the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Mr. Green?
Todd, Mr. Bryant, can you comment on the issue that's been raised regarding the roof material?
Well, that too is not a colonial revival feature. It's something that would be more in a vernacular house or a farmhouse or occasionally in a craftsman house, but it's certainly not a colonial revival feature.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if anyone has questions for Mr. Bryant.
No, nobody has. He's making a statement on behalf of it against this property, so we're not asking questions.
I
He can
meant
make a statement, and if somebody,
I didn't know whether the commission had questions of Mr. Bryant.
yes, no one has questions at this time.
Okay.
It is open for questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mark, do you have a question?
I did. I wanted to ask Mr. Todd, based on his testimony, in your opinion as a architectural historian, would in fact all of the properties in the district be required to be colonial revival, or would you agree that there are other properties that are of different vernaculars?
Well, I mean, I'm just looking at I drove around the neighborhood. I looked at the Bing Maps aerials, and my impression was that it was primarily colonial revival. It was like it appeared to me to be an early to mid 20th century neighborhood that was very coherent. And whether you can require everything to be colonial revival is up to you guys. But I think that, as it stands, that's the way it is. And
Thank you. No, your comments and opinion are very helpful to the commission. I just wanted to ask, but would you agree that there are other properties in the district that are not colonial revival or
yes,
have other elements of other vernaculars?
correct.
In response to your term, primarily.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Art. Mr. Bryant, I just want to point out that that this house isn't listed as colonial revival. It's listed as vernacular. So I don't want you to be misleading the commission that this is somehow a colonial revival house and therefore should adhere to some standards of colonial revival.
Well, that's a surprise to me. But people see things differently. I mean, two architectural historians sitting in a bar could easily come to verbal.
I'm sure you
blows.
could. I'm telling you what our handbook identifies the house as, which I think is what we should be going by, not just, like you said, interpretations of different architectural historians, which may have different interpretations.
Well, that's quite possible. I don't know your handbook, and that listing is, to me, a little suspect, but that's okay. That's the way it is.
Okay. Joel, Mr. Green, would you finish your statement, please?
Sure. I'm going to excuse Mr. Bryant.
Thank you. I have another HTC to go to in Litchfield today. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
So
Thank you.
I'm getting quite a bit of echo, Mr. Chairman. Is there?
I know. Could everybody mute themselves if they're not speaking?
Okay, that's better. So
Thank you.
I know that you just made reference to the handbook, and I'd like to just go through some of the standards that are applicable here. And it's our position that
okay, Mr. Green, I just want to point out that I'm going to put you on a time limit. You've already been speaking a little while, so just please make it quick and stick to the point. Thank you.
Well, the point is that the certificate of appropriateness shall not issue if in the judgment of the commission the building or the work is inappropriate or compromises the historic or architectural integrity. So the first item relates to the lighting. The applicant proposes 3 can lights. in soffit 4-inch above the second-story window. It's our position that the lighting is modern, not consistent with regard to the style and scale for the period of the structure of the building. Your handbook actually points out that accent lighting on private residential structures is discouraged because it has the effect of focusing attention on certain buildings and structures, thereby reducing the visual integrity of the historic district as a whole. So that's policy that's right in the handbook against such lighting. And your handbook provides a number of alternatives for exterior lighting. You make a number of suggestions, but once again, the lighting that is proposed by the applicant here is specifically discouraged. And once again, there are alternatives that are available. Moreover, the proposed garage is not consistent with your design guidelines. It does not retain the essential architectural character of the existing garage. I note that Mr. Russo made a comment of some sort that it was built in the 80s. I can't judge that, but I know that that is the existing garage. It has been there for 50 years or 40 years in any event. And your handbook specifically addresses retaining the character of that building. The existing garage has a hip-through form. It's a single garage door lit with a single overhead light. Clearly, the new application alters that in significant ways. And also, the new larger building is obviously much different in massing. Your handbook speaks in terms of maintaining the general size of structures and outbuildings. And there are a number of, there's a triple window on the second floor, which is not, again, consistent with the essential architectural character. There's no historic precedent for triple windows, which create more of a 20th century aesthetic and are really out of character for this particular design. Your regulations or the guidebook speaks to outbuildings specifically, and it says on page 64 that existing outbuildings should retain their essential architectural character, including design elements such as the degree of ornamental or basic configuration, and that anything that sort of changes that character should be avoided. New construction, and in this instance, the applicant has indicated that they're tearing down the garage and building a new garage. So your guidelines specifically say very clearly that new construction should roughly match the previous structure in mass, scale, height, and dimension in order to maintain the historic visual qualities of the streetscape. And established rhythms in location, massing, height, and bulk are to be maintained. So once again, the applicant proposes a pretty dramatic change in this structure. I note that Attorney Russo made reference to the zoning compliance of the structure. While admittedly there is a site plan out there that is stamped for zoning compliance, I should note for the record that we question and will challenge that at the appropriate time. There was reference made to the McMahon garage. To be clear, I don't know the circumstances under which the McMahon garage was established. I can tell you that it was there before my client, before 1100 Harbor Road, or my clients resided there. So I don't know the circumstances. There is this discussion as to what this commission has granted in terms of other properties in the area. And I think that is a sort of a dangerous road to go down when applicants begin to seek support, specifically pointing out structures in the area which have gotten some specific treatment as a reason why they should get that. The law really doesn't require that, and the law provides that every property stands on its own, understanding that there is historic character to a neighborhood. But I think that cherry picking individual structures, as the applicant has, is troubling and problematical. The pull in for parking and is not something that historically exists on properties in the area, and I understand that the applicant has tried to make it pretty with some sort of stonework that is really out of character with other properties in the area. And if you drive up and down those streets, which I have, you really don't see that. So I would urge the commission to look at that closely. And it's just not appropriate. Finally, you'll just bear with me. I just have a quick problem with the document. Once again, the building is out of scale with the existing structure, and I do think that the commission should look at that seriously in terms of sort of setting this sort of precedent with allowing one-car garages to be expanded in this way, moved, and ones that are obviously visible from the public way. So once again, this proposal does not meet the prominent standards in the handbook, and also taking into account Mr. Bryant's comments, we urge the commission to deny this application. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Chris Russo, do you have any questions?
No questions, Chair. I'm just going to respond once.
Or respond, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, please respond.
Oh.
I'm not going to take
Thanks,
questions
Chairman.
for the statement.
Yeah, you want me to proceed with the rebuttal, Chair?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Well, there's a lot thrown out there by Attorney Green, basically trying to see, I guess, whatever will stick. His client has some type of odd obsession with opposing my client, and it's unfortunate, but
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna object and ask the commission not to accept that sort of comment.
Okay.
All right. Well,
noted. Mr. Russo just said, please stick to, if you have comments that directly address some of the design issues or things that he's talking about, please do. Otherwise, we don't need to go over the, the fact that he's throwing everything in there to try and.
Well, it just speaks, I mean, the Attorney Green said the key statement at the beginning of his remarks, which was, this is in the judgment of the commission. The commission has the right to decide what is appropriate for this district and to determine what is of historical significance. The existing garage is not of any historical significance, has no historic significance at all. And it really has no architectural significance either. And those are the standards which, if you look at the state statute, it says the standards of pertinent factors, which this commission, and again, I don't mean to state this when I know the commission fully understands this, but just for the record, that the pertinent factors that the commission considers are the historical and architectural value and significance, architectural style, scale, general design, arrangement, texture and materials of the architectural features involved, and the relationship thereof to the exterior architectural style of pertinent features of other buildings and structures in the immediate neighborhood. And that is in the judgment of the commission, and that's what holds. And actually, there's a zoning book that's kind of our Bible for land use attorneys. It's called Fuller on Zoning, and it states about this standard that it is so broad in general that a trial court, if there were to appeal, if a decision of the Historic District Commission were to be appealed, following the standard review, which gives discretion to the commission on issuing a certificate of appropriateness and whether the vague phrases in the statute are complied with, would rarely be able to reverse any decision of the commission. So the commission pretty much has ultimate discretion as to what is appropriate for within this district. Again, we do not believe that this existing garage has any historical significance. So the comments that Attorney Green's making with regards to new construction and massing, we're not replacing a historic significant structure and trying to mimic it or repeat it. We are simply tearing down something that has no significance and frankly, building a garage in a location that benefits his client. The current garage is 2.6 feet away from his client's property line. And now we're making it fully conforming and moving it so it's 10 feet away. So in sensitivity to that neighbor, they're now going to have more space in between, as the regulations call for, between this proposed garage and the existing garage. So if anything, he's benefiting from it. The neighbor that the garage is getting closer to in the rear submitted a letter in support of this application. With regards to the accent lighting, the lighting that we're proposing are can lighting that are hidden from, are recessed and hidden and downlit, and which is something that's typical. It's not shining out towards the street. It's just downlighting on the front of the garage. And Attorney Green brings up the parking area. This parking area has previously been approved by the Historic District Commission. It's a valid approval. Attorney Green didn't appeal it. His client didn't appeal it. So I don't know the relevance of bringing it back up. And then he talks about a violation that there's no violation that exists. He just mentions it to muddy the waters, but there's no pending zoning violation. So I really don't think it's relevant. We have a stamped and sealed copy from an engineer and surveyor, Jason Spath, that's been submitted that shows that what we are proposing is completely conforming to the zoning regulations. So again, there was a lot said there, but I believe that this decision as to the appropriateness of the structure, I do think it's important that a property at 171 Old South Road, which isn't just anywhere in the district, it's right around the corner from the site, is a garage that is very similar in design. I do think that's relevant to this application, and respectfully request your approval again of this application. Happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. Do any of the other commissioners have any other questions for Mr. Russo? Okay. And would anyone else care to speak against this application? I'm sorry.
Only
Regina?
in the Paver
Do you have a
area.
question?
In the Paver area, how wide are those proposed pavers? Is it one row of pavers? Is it four?
Yeah, it's just one row of pavers. One row.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, and would anyone else care to speak against this application? Not seeing any hands. Okay, so the hearing's closed. Thank you, Mr. Russo.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is Anna and Jeffrey Taylor, 1081 Hillside Road in Fairfield, for property located at 1081 Hillside Road in Fairfield, to A, relocate existing barn, B, modifications to existing barn, C, new entry addition, D, driveway and curbing modifications, E, new walkways, and F, lighting.
Adam, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Jack.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
My name is Jack Franzen. I'm the architect for the Taylor's project. I'll try to go through this quick because you guys have been busy for a while now. Property that I'm describing is the residence of Gershom Hubble, who was a veteran of the Revolutionary War. Hubble built the house in 1751, and he was a tanner and a leather worker. The house is notable because it's an example of New England salt box style. It's really similar. If you look at the Ogden House, it's very similar, although the buildings have quite a different history of how they were put together. And I believe the Ogden House is older. Culturally, the house was important because Timothy Dwight began his academy here in one of the rooms. The house was built only 1 year before Dwight's birth, so when he was teaching, the house was quite young. Hubble's descendants resided and maintained the house until 1930s, I believe. In the late 1980s, the Rossows bought the house, and they built a large addition, which is basically this area all across the back. We have a survey, and I'll show you that later after I kind of go through my description of the project, that shows the house all by itself on this property as late as 1927. But when the Rossos built this work, I think it was on existing footprint, and I don't know what the origin of that was. But the original house is basically this little square right here. Also, with the Rosso work, a large barn, which is the subject of the application, was constructed to the rear. That's this piece here, close to the north property line, to access the new entry and barn, because now with the Rosso's addition, the front door, the effective front door of the house was back here. So the front door was sort of abandoned. This is hillside. A circular driveway is created to the rear of the house and extending to the south side of the barn to access the 3 bays. The driveway was an extension of a smaller driveway that existed that just went up to this old garage. Do have pictures from the 1950s that show that garage. There was an essay written about the house, and there's some photographs which I'll show you later, and you can see fragments of this garage. So I think it dates back somewhere between 1927 with the survey that I have and the 1957 photographs. Our proposal is to move and spin the barn and to attach it to the rear 1980s kitchen mudroom addition. By doing this, we will be able to eliminate about 3,560 feet of driveway and restore this area back here to lawn. The barn would be attached by means of a hyphen connector about 12 feet in length. We're also proposing to eliminate the extended rake on the gables and the large cupola. We're trying to really minimize the scale and the overt architectural elements on the barn that I think currently overpower the north side of the property. And if you drove by there, you probably couldn't get a good view of the barn because there were 2 rows of trees planted to block the view of it. And one of those rows, it looks like a row of trees, but actually it's 3 tree stumps with ivy growing on it, which are dead trees. So I think even the previous owners did not want the barn to be seen from the road as much as possible.
Hey, Jack?
Yes.
I think people are having trouble hearing you. Can you turn up your volume a little bit?
Sure. Can
Thanks.
you hear me now?
Yeah, I don't have any trouble hearing you, but someone else does.
Yeah, it's been,
Sorry to
sometimes I
interrupt.
have trouble with my signal here, but what we're trying to do is minimize the scale and the overt architectural elements on the barn, which is a pretty overpowering structure with a cupola and the boards sticking out at an angle. We want to restore the view shed from Hillside Road so you can look back and see the lawn, which extends back up to Country Day School, which is actually where Timothy Dwight's house was. One of the arguments that we have for this is that it would restore the view shed to what it was in 1961 when the Greenfield Hills Historic District was first being contemplated and was still in existence in 1966 when the district was created. And one of the mandates of that creation was to preserve the rural character, and they described it in the final report as establishing the district where Greenfield Hill characterized as a rural community of quiet charm and beauty set apart from busier and more populous centers of industry, commerce, and politics. So, you know, we're just trying to minimize the effect of the barn on the property and eliminate a lot of impervious surface. The positioning the barn behind the house will place it slightly lower, so the ridge ends up being about a foot lower than it is now. We're spinning it so that the large dormer is to the rear, not to the front. And we're proposing to replace the doors, what is the larger of the bays, with a door and overdoor that matches the other two. We're planning to put in a light that matches the light on that end of the barn on the two bays, doors. Proposing to use the same onion lights that are currently on the house on the hyphen connector. So now I'm going to kind of run you through the so this is what's being proposed on the site. So that whole huge circular driveway gets eliminated, and there's a shared court between the two buildings. It's just existing and proposed. And you can see the extended rake board and the cupola. We're proposing to get rid of that, and the barn, when it's moved, will look like this here on the top elevation. That shows you the other side of it. So this is what's proposed, with this dormer now being in the rear. This is the existing elevation showing the relative position of the barn. This is showing the proposed position of the barn without the cupola and the extended rake. This shows you the view from the north property line with the barn being connected with this hyphen. That's a plan view. It's a close-up elevation. You can see where we're changing the bay to have the lights in the bays will have identical doors and lighting, and the onion lights going on the connector. This is a cross section through the connector. And here you can see the existing lights that we want to use on the new overhead door and the onion lights that are on the house that we're going to use on the hyphen connector. And I do have some interesting photographs here as well. This is the 1927 survey. In this essay, I was surprised that there was never any other structure. Maybe there was, but I was not able to find evidence of it. And then here's the rendering that was done of what the house looked like in 1881. And this is the view showing it in 1957. So at some point, this piece was added between 1927 and 1957 in that 30-year. Here's another picture where you can see the old garage that's been there for a while now, and the opening between the house and the existing garage. And lastly, I wanted to show you. So this is sort of a streetscape drawing showing what you would see from Hillside Road presently if the 3 tree stumps were removed. This is the view. And then what what it will look like if we're able to move the barn. And I believe that covers everything. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thanks, Jack. Chris, you want to start? Chris Shea?
Thank you. I have no questions at this time.
Okay, Rosina?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Darren? Is Darren still with us? Okay. Art?
None for me, Adam. Thank you.
Okay. George?
Yeah, Jack, I'm sure the usual questions of wood, all true wood
I apologize. Yes, I forgot to mention that everything on this application is either already existing in all wood construction, or anything that's being proposed would be all wood. Doors, windows would be STL, copper flashing. It's basically a match existing situation. You may have noticed there's a repair order on this house, and it's being reshingled, and new windows have been put in. And these new owners are really wonderful stewards. Mr. Taylor got an award from this Connecticut Preservation Trust for his work on the Greenfield Hill Cemetery. And they just love Greenfield Hill and the whole, sort of rural character of it.
Yeah, he's done a fabulous job in the cemetery. Thank you. I have no other questions.
And I go ahead.
I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Alyssa, do you have any questions? No questions from Alyssa. Alyssa, you might want to try calling in on your phone to get audio. If you go under audio and video, you can try and figure that out. Anyway, Jim Boyan, do you have any questions?
Yeah, basic question, Jack. So you're from 80,000 feet. You're going to take down the original barn and replace it with this attached barn?
No, Jim, we're actually going to move it. We have a contractor, and you'll find out a little bit more about that at the next application. But they're going to literally move it on. They have machinery that will take a building. I'll explain it in great detail, but it's basically a house moving company lifts this barn, spins it, and puts it on a new foundation. So we're not really tearing anything down.
I see. Okay, thank you. It's my compliments in terms of opening up the landscape.
That's my connection there for a second. Adam, can you still hear me?
I can, yeah. I said, Jack, my compliments on opening up the landscape. It's very commendable.
There's just one other thing I'd like to say, which I don't want to take up more of your time, but with this application, after we submitted it, we were looking at it, and there's one thing that I think would improve this application, which is the windows that you will see. So the windows that you will see when it's spun, this grouping of windows seems to me to be out of scale. I think it's totally appropriate on the rear of the building. But if you wanted to stipulate that we would just keep the one central double hung window on that elevation that faces Hillside Road, that would be acceptable.
Yeah, that might be a good improvement.
I think it would really improve this. It would make it look like a real barn instead of a barn that's turned into a guest house. And there is a legal, like, I guess you'd call it a guest room above there now, but we don't want it to look that way.
Okay, thank
Any
you.
other questions, Jim?
No other questions. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Jack, I am struggling a little bit with moving the barn so close to the house. I feel like not, just in terms of the layout. I guess like what year is it the barn originally? Said it was like an 80s or.
I think the barn was built when the Rossos did all their work in the late 80s. I think it was around 88 or 90, somewhere in there.
And I feel like it was probably, if you go back to the site plan, it was probably sited back there to look like a barn on the property, which would never be that close to the house, right? So that's my concern is how, having the barn just so close to the house, is that strange? Is that going to look weird? I understand what you're trying to do and create this garage that's. Go ahead.
That's a good question, but as I was thinking about that too, and there are a number of, if you go up, especially Bronson Road, there are a number of houses where the garages are either connected like this, like the Gambrell house on the left side of Bronson, right before you get to the church house. There's a series of connected outbuildings that are on the right side of it. And then the house that's on the corner of Verna Hill and Bronson on the east side, there's a huge barn that's similarly sited. It's not as close, but I think there's a small shed and a barn, and I think the distance isn't that different from this. So, our goal here was just to really cut down on the amount of blacktop and, I should say, driveway. If we moved it back another 4 feet, I don't think it would make much difference. It's pretty close to the kitchen, but it's farther. This is the main salt box here, so it's considerably farther from the main salt box than it is from the additions that were done.
Yeah, but it's still really close, and it's a big piece of property. So, these other properties you're talking about, are they as big? Do they have as much acreage?
I think they probably
How big
don't.
is this property?
This is I think a little oversized lot here.
Yeah, it looks like it's bigger than 2 acres.
But that's sort of what we were trying to perpetuate, was just the openness of it. And I think there was another parcel that was conveyed to the school back here, so it might have been bigger at one time, even than it is now.
Right.
It's a lovely property. It's beautiful.
Did you connect the garage to I see a connector. Is that just a covered walkway or is it enclosed?
Yeah, that's an enclosed walkway that comes in. This is the current, where my cursor is. There's a little mudroom here, and then the kitchen is back here. And then there's a formal entry here that was served by that circular driveway.
And then the other thing that concerns me is the scale of the barn compared to the house. Like, can you go to the elevations again?
Sure. So
yeah, I feel like it competes with the house quite a bit in terms of massing,
I agree with you in part, because the problem is I think it competes even more the way it is on the site with a big cupola.
But it's so far away. It's set back quite a bit.
It is, but the tree stumps, I think, give a false impression of how monumental that structure is.
Yeah. Okay. Those are my concerns. I guess we'll have to discuss it in the, executive session.
Yeah, I think it's a trade-off, but we felt that it was a big improvement to move it, get it out of the view shed, and, I think a lot less of it will be visible from Hillside Road. I think that's undeniable,
Okay.
so.
Well, I mean, it's definitely going to be, I don't know, because it's going to be so much closer. Right, I mean, what is it, go back to the site plan, what's the distance? You probably can't tell me that.
I
The
could
site
give you a
plan.
good educated guess. Yeah, so I'm guessing it's probably, right now it's probably about 80 feet from 70 to 80 feet from the back of the house.
Yep. You're basically moving the barn widths between the two. So where the new location is compared to where it is now, it's about the distance of the barn itself.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, that's it. Those are the only concerns I have at the moment. I don't have any other questions. Anyone else have any questions they'd like to ask?
Yeah, actually,
No? Okay.
Chris here.
Okay.
Jack, when you
Go
were
ahead, Chris.
just discussing with the chairman about the driveway, and you mentioned blacktop, but your application talks about gravel, and I just wanted to understand which it's going to be.
Yeah, I was speaking out of habit, not referring to what it actually is. It's proposed to be gravel and it remains so.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Thanks. Anyone else? No? Okay. I did not get any letters in favor of this application. I did not get any letters opposing this application. And I guess I should ask the question, is there anyone in the public in the meeting who would like to speak in favor of this application? I don't see any hands. And would anyone like to speak against this application? Okay, so the hearing's closed. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you very much.
Next application is John Corin, 153 Willow Street, Southport, for property located at 153 Willow Street in Southport for A, relocate existing house to new lot, B, extend front porch, C, new side entry porch, D, remove side entry door, replace with window, E, new two-car garage with lighting, F, AC condensers with evergreen screening, G, new driveway, and H, patio and walkways.
Good afternoon. It's Jack Franzen here again, representing John Corin on this application. And I'll go back to sharing my screen. Get rid of this. This project that I'm going to explain to you involves the formation of a new lot in the Southport Historic District. And the purpose of that is to move existing house from Old South Road. Previously, the commission approved the demolition of a house, 75 Old South Road. Our proposal is to move that house onto a lot created on Willow Street to avoid its demolition. While the house is not old enough to have attained official historic status, it's a work of note designed by Benjamin Baker, AIA, renowned Yale-educated Southport architect, and an excellent example of late 20th century residential design, the Italianate style. The lot we've created is known as 153 Willow Street. The lot meets all the requirements of the R3 residential zone for this project, and it's comprised of a chunk of John Corrin's property, which presently or previously extended all the way from Harbor Road to Willow Street. And what we've done is we've made a free cut of this lot to create a building lot for the home. The existing house will be moved without the attached garage, and the new detached garage has been designed to sit near the rear of the house. So now I've got Willow Street on the bottom of the sheet here. Garage is set back from the house on its left side. It will have a wraparound porch. Currently, the house has a porch that extends on two sides of the front gable, and we're proposing to extend it around the third side. And as you might recall, the house on Old South Road, as it's constituted now, the garage is attached here. The entrance to the property will be by means of a driveway that makes use of an opening in the existing stone wall. There's an existing stone wall that comes through here. We're using that current opening to come through and around to the driveway, to the side entrance of the house and the garage. Choice of the area for the lot to be developed was a conscious choice because on the left side of the lot is the view from the Wiswell house. And I think the Wiswell house is the last home in the Southport Historic District as you go south on Willow Street. So we didn't want to put a house over here. We felt it should go on this corner. The new detached garage is located behind a house. There'll be a stepping stone sidewalk connecting to patio and to the driveway. We're proposing mechanical equipment over here on the south side and a generator behind a garage. And if you approve the mechanical equipment, it'll all be screened with evergreen screening that'll be permanently maintained. We're proposing 3 new lanterns, 2 of them on the front of the garage, 1 on the side. We're proposing to add a side porch because this is where the garage gets clipped off and this side will now be exposed. All the materials are either existing already on the house or they're going to be new all wood windows, doors, porch posts, decking, garage doors. From the garage will be pressure treated red cedar shingles. Same thing with the roof on the breezeway. And, you know, we believe that this is really appropriate adaptive reuse of what a house that would otherwise be demolished. Performance with the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation. And I don't know it for a fact, but I always felt that Ben Baker probably took inspiration from a couple of Italianate houses that are at the other end of Old South Road and some that spill onto Pequot Avenue. And since this will be the last home on this side of Willow Street in the district, we thought it was a very appropriate type of house to put here. I think a lot of neighbors agree with this. There may be some letters that you have, and I think that Linda Batchelder may have sent a letter to, she's the successor architect to Ben Baker, who retired. We all think this is great. There is some urgency to this project because the agreement that Mr. Corn has to save the house expires in a matter of weeks. And everybody at Town Hall, the Conservation Department, the Engineering Department, the Health Department, everybody that has to sign off on this is really scrambling. They've been absolutely terrific trying to make this possible. so we don't lose this opportunity. I think that's about it. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. And I should go through the plans. That might help. Okay, so this is the existing house. Existing house. Existing. Now we've got a proposed first floor plan showing where we've added this additional bay on the front wraparound porch. Proposed front elevation showing the wraparound porch. Side elevation showing the proposed side porch. Garage, which is a new garage, since the old garage is not, doesn't make sense to move it. Lanterns that we proposed for the garage for the sides of the doors and on the side door. Typical STL window, garage door detail, everything's wood, AC units. That is it for the drawings. I mean, you all know the house very well, so go on about it, but it's going to be the same house in a different location.
Okay. Thanks, Jack. Chris, do you have any questions?
Thank you for your presentation, Jack. I didn't see a cut sheet on the generator that's being proposed, and in the application, at least not the one I had. And I just wanted to ask you a little bit about the proposed two-car garage. Do you believe that it's the mass of it and the scale of it is consistent with the home and the siting of it on the property? I mean, how did you? I know you talked about keeping the house over to the one edge of the new lot, but I'm just wondering why you chose that location for the garage, and why particularly. I mean, the design of the garage seems to be very simple.
Yes, I think the idea was the internal logic of the house sort of demands that the garage be on this side of it, because this is where you came in from the garage with the current house the way it's located on Old South Road. And the guidelines, I think, prefer to have outbuildings set back from the principal building. And also we thought if it was too close, that it would impinge on the patio or the outdoor, casual gathering area on the rear of the house. So that's sort of why we ended up putting the garage where it is now, plan. Architecture was somewhat, I would say derivative from the garage that's there on Old South Road, but I think it's more attractive just by virtue of the fact that it's detached. And I think the garage doors are more attractive than the ones that are there, or in keeping with the Italianate style. And it's a farmhouse. It's not a high style Italianate structure. It's a replication of an Italianate farmhouse. And there's one right at the end of Old South, the Forehand's old house. And then there's another one that's missing its porch now, but down near my office at the end of Harbor Road, up on the hill there. So it's a style of house that you would see, and they would have simple, unadorned garages or outbuildings.
Okay, thanks very much, Jack.
Thanks, Chris. Regina?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Art?
No questions, thank you.
George,
No questions, Jack. Thank you very much.
Alyssa? She's asking, oh, can you read that, Jack?
Oh, I'm
I think I
sorry.
missed something. Why was this house originally going to be demolished?
Well, that's a good question. I think that there have been very, very few examples of homes that were demolished in the historic district. And I think most of the time when it's happened, it's because the house was not old enough to be deemed historic or did not have any historic value. In this instance, I think it was somewhat unique because, and I wasn't at that hearing, I think maybe because the proposed house was almost identical to the house that was going to be removed, may have come into play. But I think in the past, when I've been at hearings where homes were being demolished, it was pretty grave concern for the commission, and it wasn't taken lightly. In this case, it was approved, and like I said, I wasn't there, but I think it may have something to do with the fact that the new home going up on Old South Road is going to look very much like the old one.
Any other questions, Alyssa? No more questions. Okay. Jim, do you have a question?
Going back to the what's the word? The terminal estate of the lot at 75 Old South Road. As I remember, they were going to tear it down because of the ground conditions, the soil conditions were incompatible with some changes they wanted to make. Presumably that won't affect this, and it won't come into play on this lot. But that's not an appropriateness issue. So, no questions. It's fine.
Jim, that's a good question. Mr. Corns already had somebody do soil tests and to see if there's soil is going to support the house.
Right.
And there is ledge there. So, I mean, the house is not going anywhere once it's down on its new foundation. It was built in an interesting way because when they built it, they actually cut notches in the joists. And I'm not quite sure why they did that, but I think we have it figured out how we're going to move. And to your point on the earlier hearing, they have these machines. They're rubber tire machines. They have hydraulic jacks, and the jacks are positioned under key load points in the house. They're robotically controlled, and they can literally move this thing and spin it around to sit on the new foundation. And what they do is they put steel plates down on the turf. So unless there's a real rough spot on the turf, they don't have to really do much to the yard between the neighbor's house and where this house is going. It just gradually, it'll take a long time. It's slow, but they just gradually ease it up the hill. There is a maximum slope that they're allowed to move, and we're within those parameters.
Okay, thank you.
Jack, just as a point of interest, how many are we going to lose many trees in moving that across?
There will be some trees taken out on that property line to move this house, and I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that Mr. Corn will want to replace those trees.
Yeah, because they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, the property is beautiful.
Yeah. Great. It's a great solution.
Thank you.
Well, Jack, I don't have any questions regarding the application. I do think it's a great solution for this house. It does bring up an interesting point, though. Like, why didn't the owners of 75 Old South lift the house, move it, replace the foundation, then put the house back down? It seems like that could have been an option, but that's neither here or there at this point. But I'm glad the house is getting reused on this property.
Yeah, I can think of other homes. The Mandeville house up on Greenfield Hill was jacked up and spun around and put back up on the
Yeah.
below green. So it's just a coincidence. This month I happen to be involved with two of these. I think I've ever done one quite like this before.
Well, Bill Ruger and I did
Yeah.
the back into the old Williams house on the old Post Road, and that worked very well.
Well, it was very common before electricity came along.
Anyway, thank you, Jack. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. I do have a few letters in favor of this application, which I can read. First one's from Alex Urquhart. To the members of the Historic District Commission, we write this letter as neighbors of John Corrin with our enthusiastic support of his plan to move the house on 75 Old South Road to his property around the corner on Willow Street. Though not a historic house, it is a lovely New England farmhouse style replica which blends in so nicely with the neighborhood. And one would be surprised to discover that it is not built until the late 1980s, designed by former local architect Ben Baker. We were surprised and saddened to hear of plans to demolish it, John's plans to preserve this fine, architecturally appropriate and otherwise house and move it to the rear of his adjacent property in lieu of building a new structure on this property makes a great deal of sense and actually is a real service to the community. And 30-year-old houses of this caliber don't belong in our landfills. We sincerely hope they will approve this application. Alex and Judy Urquhart, 935 Harbor Road. John Levinson, 883 Harbor Road, Southport. Your Historic District Commission, I'm writing in strong support of the proposal to move the house located at 75 Old South to 153 Willow Street. I have lived at Southport for 25 years, 12 of them just 2 houses away from 75 Old South. Old South has always been a favorite street in town, a short, quiet street with many beautiful old homes. 75 Old South is a gem, and as such, I support the idea of keeping the house intact and moving it to a new location close by. As an important aside, I love the fact that a home is being repurposed to new locations, saving on the costs, both monetarily and ecologically, of building a new home from scratch and putting another in a landfill. Thanks for your work and keep our historic town beautiful, John. Thomas Graham, 1809 Black Rock Turnpike. Dear Historic District Commission, I'm writing in support of the proposal by John Corrin to move the house located at 75 Old South to 153 Willow Street in Southport. For the past 50 years, I have lived at 275 Willow Street, and I support the move of this beautiful house to Willow Street. It would be a shame to have this house demolished. It will beautifully complement the other houses on the street. I hope that you will approve the application of John Corrin. Sincerely, Thomas Graham. And finally, Linda Batchelder, dear commissioners, I have reviewed the application by J.P. Franz and Associates for moving the house we designed for the Jensen family at 75 Old South Road to the newly created lot of 153 Willow Street. I support this proposal. The relocation and reuse of structures have historic precedents in New England, including in Southport Village. I applaud the work to keep this residence out of the landfill instead giving it new life. Regards, Linda Batchelder. Okay, and now I'll ask if anyone in the hearing would like to speak in favor of this application. Please raise your hand. And if anyone, Art, or do you want to say something?
No, I'm just raising my hand, and I just want to make sure you see it because all I see is Jack's drawing here.
Oh yeah, I see your hand.
Okay, I just because we couldn't see each other's.
Okay, gotcha. And then would anyone care to speak against this application? Please raise your hand. A virtual raising hand, that is. I don't see any. So this hearing's closed. Thank you, Jack.
Okay, thank you. today.
Sorry, I spaced out. I thought we were in executive session for some reason. Was a lot of it.
No, it's all right.
I'm so used to hearing that cadence voice. So yeah, I'm not part of the public. So sorry, folks. Just long day.
Last item on the agenda is David Haddad, 1038 Old Post Road in Fairfield for property located at 1038 Old Post Road in Fairfield to A, replace existing window with new door, and B, remove side door and step. Is there someone here to represent?
Yep, I'm Robert Storms. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Robert.
Hi, I'm
Go
a
ahead.
general contractor, and I was hired by the client, the applicant, David Haddad, and I'm acting as agent for him tonight. And we are proposing to, I'm sorry, give me 2 seconds here. Where am I? Okay, we're proposing to put in a new stacking door on the rear of the building in place of a current large window. So David purchased this property recently and hired my company to do interior renovations. He purchased it from Kennedy Center, and it was, prior to his ownership, a rooming house. It's situated right behind the Fairfield Public Library. You can see the house from the rear parking area for the public library, and you can see where we would be putting in this new door in replacement of the existing window. And he's also looking to seal up the existing door that exits from the side of that same room as well. So I just want to show you quickly the front of the house so that you can all picture the house. You can see the Fairfield Public Library is right there to the left. The house was built in 1900. And we're doing nothing to the exterior of the home aside from the proposed door on the application. The existing is, this is the rear of the room where you can see the large window. And then there's a view of that window from the parking lot where the library is. That's the view there. There's a chain link fence that I believe was put there by the public library when they built the parking lot. And there are some cedar trees that kind of divide the property from the parking lot. That's a further view. This is the door on the side of that room that he'd like to remove and seal that up completely, and we would fill it in with materials that we actually removed from the back of the house, so it would all be cohesive. And then the door itself should be applicable to what's required by the historical district. It's exterior wood, interior wood door with STL grills, and that's basically it.
Okay. Thank you. Chris, do you have any questions?
Yes, hi, thank you for your presentation. So as far as it looks like it's there are 4 swinging doors. Is it a stack door or?
Yeah, it's a stacking door. That's correct. Yes. Primarily, one will be an active door that he'll go in and out of, but you can open them and slide them 2 to the left, 2 to the right.
Okay. And I didn't see any sort of landing or steps off of this door. And it appears to me that if you look at the picture closely and the door that you're removing, it's about 2 or 3 risers above grade. So I would imagine you're going to need to put some sort of steps or a landing and a step or something there, which is,
Yeah.
is shown.
Yeah, so yeah, the elevation on that side, believe it or not, is about 1 riser lower than what is in the back here, but on the proposed site plan, down here, we do have a step that will be necessary to go in. And I believe that what he wants to do there is a bluestone step with probably just a purged riser, a single step down.
Okay. It looked like the original step was a brick. It looks like it had maybe a brick, it was brick risers and brick treads.
Yeah, it seems as if that may have been a replacement at some point in the house's history. They're all just kind of haphazardly stacked on top of each other there, and that bottom riser actually sits on top of an old asphalt sidewalk. So I don't know when that was done. I would imagine originally there was another step there. To me, it looks like it had been removed and something else put in its place. I can't really speak to if that's original to the house. It does not look like it was to me.
Okay. And then it looks like there's an existing like blacktop patio back there that is going to just remain, I guess.
Yeah, as of now, he doesn't have any real plans for that area. He just wants to clean it up and have it accessible. I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to remove that asphalt. It's not really connected to anything. It's just kind of sitting there. And I have to assume that it had served some sort of purpose for the rooming house when the Kennedy Center owned it.
And then my last question, the elevation of the new door does not indicate any lighting, like exterior light fixtures, but
No.
I believe you're going to need one
Yeah.
to meet building codes. So that you would have to get a certificate of appropriateness for that.
Sure, that's not a problem.
Before you were to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Those are all my questions. Thank you for your presentation.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Rosina?
My two questions were also about the step and the lighting, so those have been answered. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Art?
None, thank you.
George?
And thank you.
Alyssa? No questions from Alyssa. Jim?
No questions, Robert. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions really either. Maybe one. Who's the manufacturer? Do you have a manufacturer for the door?
It's Lincoln Door Company.
Okay, and they're all wood, right?
All wood, correct. Yep.
Okay. So just so you know, the landing and the lights will both have to come back. You can't for another application. We have to know what the landing is going to be made out of. It sounds like it's a little unclear to you.
Sure.
You know what your client wants.
Okay.
And it's definitely unclear to us what you're going to do. You know, it could be wood, it could be stone, it could be brick. So
Okay.
There's a number of options.
Sure. I'll
So,
talk to him and I'll get that on an application for the next hearing. Not a problem.
Okay, great.
Yeah, my primary concern was placing the order for the door, since everything is so far
Yeah.
out now. So if we are able to get that approved, then I could get it on order. That would be great, and then certainly address those other items.
Okay, great. All right. Would anyone from the public like to speak in favor of this application? Please raise your hand. No one? Anyone like to speak against this application? Please raise your hand. I see no one, so the hearing is closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll go into executive session for consideration of public hearings. The first item will be Jessica and Mitch McManus, 1088 Harbor Road in Southport for property located at 1088 Harbor Road in Southport for A, remove existing garage, B, new garage, C, lights on garage, D, extend driveway gravel, E, new fence, and F, paver outline to Fieldstone parking area. I need a motion. And on this one, Alyssa and Jim are voting.
Thank you.
Adam, I would like to propose a motion, but if you don't mind, which item was the relative to lighting? Was that
Item
C?
C. Yep.
I'll move to approve all items as presented, but to deny item C without prejudice.
Can I get a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, Rosina seconds. Discussion? What's on your mind, Rosina?
I agree with the lights. Similar to the last time, I'm a little bit concerned on the metal roof, the one that faces the street, not the one that's on the back, which I know is more difficult because of the pitch of that dormer. But kind of that, the roof on that dormer that faces the street, in my opinion, it might be better as a continuation of the a similar material that it's being used throughout the garage. So that's kind of my only.
I think the pitch is so low that I think you could do it, but it might just become really, moldy, and I don't think it would weather well, with such a low pitch. Which is why they proposed to begin with. I don't have a problem with the metal roof. I think the color is going to be, match, try and blend in with the asphalt. And it's such a shallow pitch to begin with, you're not even going to see it.
Yeah.
Anyone else with thoughts on that?
I agree. I don't, the standing seam copper roof doesn't, there's plenty of that.
Melissa, do you have any comments? Or Jim?
I asked him why the metal. I didn't hear a good answer.
It's because of the pitch. It's such a shallow pitch. Alyssa, it wasn't denied last time, we approved it. It was denied the first time because of inconsistencies in the application. And then it was approved the second time.
Yes, you're right. You're right. I'm not hard over on it, nor am I hard over on lighting.
Well, lighting, I understand the downlighting. It does make sense that we shouldn't approve that because it's going to wash the front of the garage with light, it's just not really our intention. There's no different than uplighting the house as opposed to downlighting the elevation. So I think that's a good call.
So you would be against the lighting as well, Adam?
Well, yes. I would deny the lighting without prejudice. I think that's in the motion.
It was
already.
That's how I presented it.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing to deny. But everything else, I think, is fine. I think I don't have a problem with the rest of the application. The the driveway pull-out, I think it might, by putting a border around those field stones might clean it up a little bit. I don't think it's going to make it look any worse than it is now.
What's actually the pitch? Do we know what the pitch on that front dormer is?
I think it's 3. Let me see. Pull it up here. If I remember correctly, the back is 4 and the front is 3.
Yeah,
Oh no, it's 2.
the drawings that I have.
The back is 3 and the front is.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
the steeper pitched roof is the one that is over the 2 garage doors. That's got the shorter windows according to the elevations.
Yeah.
So that's the
And
one
that's
that
a 3 and
faces
12
the-
pitch.
That's the one that faces the street. And that looks like it's a 3 pitch. And the one in the
Yeah.
back that's not visible from a public way has a 2 pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's from the application.
And I think technically you could get away with asphalt on a 3 pitch, but it's just not going to weather well. It's going to
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we do put asphalt shingles on 3 pitches all the time with a complete ice and water shield barrier underneath it.
Yeah.
Then we don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, the shingles don't weather well because you get standing water on it. That just doesn't drain very well.
Yeah, I mean, on a 3 pitch, they'll drain.
So what are you saying? You think it should be asphalt?
I'm
In my
I-
opinion, yeah.
I don't really want to comment, so I'm not going to talk anymore on this because I wasn't here for the full presentation. I just wanted to.
Oh
answer
gosh, I'm
the
sorry, I
question.
forgot.
I just wanted to answer the question about the pitch. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna.
Thank
okay.
Yeah, in my opinion, visually it will be better or kind of more, it will flow a little bit nicer if it was all the asphalt in the front. The back, I understand the pitch that it's it's the 2 to 12, so it does require the metal. So that's just my.
Okay. Well, Art, I mean, I don't have a problem with that. Art, do you have any problem?
I mean, I don't doubt
amending the
this
motion?
point that it'd be nicer, but you know, we're not required to have nice. We're the standard is appropriateness.
True. All right. Well, let's vote on the application and the motion that we have on the table. So the motion is to approve A, B, D, E, and F as presented and deny C without prejudice. So can we get all in favor? All opposed? Rosina is opposed. The motion passes unanimously. Not unanimously. Sorry, 4-1. 4-1. Rosina opposed. Okay, next item on the agenda is Anna and Jeffrey Taylor, 1081 Hillside Road in Fairfield, for property located at 1081 Hillside Road in Fairfield for A, relocate existing barn, B, modifications to existing barn, C, new entry addition, D, driveway and curbing modifications, E, new walkways, and F, lighting. And Alyssa Stack will be voting on this application. Can I get a motion?
So I am not voting, right?
Correct.
Hearing no response, I'll make a motion to approve all of those foregoing items as presented.
Thank you. Alyssa seconds. Discussion?
I had one thing, Adam. Didn't Jack?
Jim, you can't comment because you're not voting.
Okay.
Sorry.
Everybody, it's Chris. So Adam, I just was kind of picking up on your comments during the presentation about maybe a little bit the proximity of the barn with respect to the home, and how number one, whether or not it was appropriate, and number two, did it kind of overpower the home a bit? And I think you were a little bit, unsure of that. You were just kind of throwing that out there, but I do take your comments, and I think you're maybe onto something there. So I just wanted to kind of kick that out now in this while we're discussing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just a little worried about that because it's such a big piece of property, and the barn is set back quite a bit from the house. So it looks more like a farmhouse with a barn on the property as opposed to, a farmhouse with a garage attached to it. So Alyssa's texting. No, there's no real guidelines. But massing is something we should consider when it comes to additions. And this is, although it's not an addition, it's being moved next to the house. So now the massing of that structure, I think, is having an impact on the main house. They're relating differently than they are now.
Agreed.
So I don't know, Art, what do you think?
On those items, I'd certainly give weight to what you and Chris are saying, and sounds like Alyssa, based on her message online, is of the same mind. So perhaps I can withdraw the motion and make a new motion to deny the foregoing items without prejudice.
Okay, I'll accept that.
Could vote on the motion before you do that. I just, the other comment I wanted to make was the applicant, actually the rep for the applicant, Mr. Franzen, indicated that they might be willing to reduce the size and scale of that gable window so that it would be maybe obscured by the house. And that might, I don't know if you guys have that application, but if you were to look at the drawing number A6.0, I think without that window being partially visible, I mean, it's still a pretty overpowering structure to be kind of crammed up against the house like that. That was something that was talked about, so I wanted to remind everyone.
Yeah, I don't think changing the window is gonna have much of an effect on the overall massing.
Okay.
It doesn't have an effect on the massing. It doesn't have an
What's that?
effect on the massing, but visually, reducing that window overall, it will look nice.
It's a big window.
It will, yeah.
It'll look nicer, yeah. It's a big window.
It will look more like a barn, yeah. But I agree with the massing that it might not overpower because it's further back, but it just changes the whole aspect of the house. So.
Well, the property, it changes changes the appearance of the property quite a bit. Yeah. From what appears to be like a farm setting with a barn set, but they'd never built a barn so close to a house like that, you know, back in, if it was a farm, you know, farmhouse. Not that it was a farmhouse, could have been. I mean, I don't know. Why don't we vote on the application and see where it goes? So take a vote. All in favor? No one in favor, all opposed? Okay. The motion fails. Can we get a new motion?
I'll make a new motion to deny the foregoing items on the application without prejudice.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Rosina seconds. I don't think we need any more discussion unless anyone else does. No? Okay. All in favor? All opposed? None opposed? Abstentions? None? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Next item on the agenda is John Corn, 153 Willow Street, Southport, for property located at 153 Willow Street, Southport, for A, relocate existing house to new lot, B, extend front porch, C, new side entry porch, D, remove side entry door, replace with window, E, new two-car garage with lighting, F, AC condensers with evergreen screening, G, new driveway, H, patio and walkways. And George Clark will be voting on this application. Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve A through H as presented for discussion.
I'll second that.
Okay. George seconds. Discussion.
So this is Chris. The application does not indicate the generator as an item, but it is shown on the plan, and Mr. Franzen alluded to it in his presentation, and I had indicated that there wasn't a cut sheet or any information provided about the generator. So I don't know if we're considering that as part of the application or not.
No, it's not on the application, so we're not considering it.
Okay.
I guess we should make the note that that should be resubmitted as
Excluded.
another application.
Yep.
How do you guys feel about the garage? You okay with it?
It
Okay
does
with it?
look
It's,
smaller and simpler, but
It's a
that's a
big,
good thing.
it's a big house, probably smaller than the existing garage
It is.
on the house it's on now.
Yeah, it is smaller. It's
I don't
also
think it's
detached.
inappropriate.
Sorry, Art?
No, I don't think it's inappropriate.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah. If it was massive, then you know, might have an issue.
There's no second story to it.
It's pretty,
They're doing that. It was
Yeah.
going to have a second story on the old one.
it's very understated and it's set back, so I don't think it's going to have much of an impact on the appearance from the street.
mm.
Okay.
Any other comments? All right, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Do you think?
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna, one more quick thing. Do you think that using the existing wall opening on Willow Street makes sense, so that the wall opening now, you drive in and then you have to take a really sharp left-hand turn around the house and get to the
Yes,
garage?
100%. George and I went out and looked at the property with Jack originally, and the wall is a really beautiful example of a stone wall, a stacked stone wall, and it would be really unfortunate if you compromised it. So I think the fact that they're using the existing opening maintaining that wall is great. And I think he made it work. I think it's a little circuitous, the driveway, but it's I think it's much more preferable than creating a new opening in that wall.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor? All opposed? No opposition, abstentions, motion passes unanimously. Last item is David Haddad, 1038 Old Post Road in Fairfield for property located in 1038 Old Post Road in Fairfield for A, replace existing window with new door, and B, remove side door and step. And Jim Bohan is voting on this one. Okay, Jim?
I'll make the motion to approve A and B as presented.
Okay.
And I'll
Rosina
second.
makes a motion.
Art seconds.
Rosina,
Art
what do we,
seconds. Discussion?
what is your motion not approving?
No, to
Approve
as
A
presented.
and B as presented.
Okay, is there a C?
No.
Negative.
Oh,
Okay,
A, replace existing window with new door, and B, remove side door and step.
and that's it.
Ye-
Okay,
Yes, and they're gonna have to come back, and make with another application for lighting and for that rear landing and step.
I'll second Rosina's motion.
Art already seconded. So do you have any other discussion? No discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on. We need to approve minutes from the October meeting. I believe everyone was here. Can I get a motion to approve the 1014 minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Jim Bohan makes a motion to approve the minutes. Second.
I'll second.
Okay, Rosina seconds. All in favor? All opposed? None opposed, no abstentions. Motion passes. Chairman's report, repairs. Had a bunch of repairs. 204 Harbor Road, reset block and front stoop, repair fieldstone walls, patios, and steps. 363 Old Post Road, replace asphalt roof shingles in kind. 1081 Hillside Road, replace windows in kind, replace cedar shingles, siding in kind. 349 Beach Road, replace asphalt shingle roof in kind. 825 Harbor Road, replace existing AC condenser unit in kind. 543 Old Post Road, replace side porch steps in kind, repair screen in porch in kind. 46 Station Street, restore existing shutters. We have no violations, thank goodness. And old business, an update on the annual report. Darren, I wish she was here. She had to leave early, but she has been in the process of doing the annual reports for the last few years, and she's just about finished. And it's been a ton of work, and it's something that needs to be, I think, continued on a regular basis. And Darren has offered to do it, but she's also suggested that maybe the clerk can take on the role of putting together the annual report. So, Rosina, if you're willing to remain the clerk into the next year, it's another duty that I'd like you to take on if you are willing.
Break it up,
and
Adam.
she can show you exactly what needs to be done. I'm sorry?
Actually, you're all
Can you hear me?
breaking up.
Who are you talking? Who's talking?
That was George.
No, it wasn't.
I
Oh,
think it was.
Oh,
I
maybe
think
Jim. I'm
it
sorry.
was Jim, yeah. But I could hear you
was that
fine.
breaking up to anyone else?
No.
Okay.
Okay, you're
Rosina, can
coming
you hear me?
back. Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So the annual report is it's just documenting basically who's on the commission and who's the changes in commissioners. And then the various approvals, and I'll have to show you. Or Darren can show you, if you're willing to do it. If not, Darren can do it. It is a bit of work. It seems like it's a lot of work. I take it out, but I got too much on my plate, unfortunately. So, anything else? Any new business that needs to be discussed? Anyone wants to bring up?
Well, I need a copy of those slides from the course, Adam.
Yeah, I agree.
I haven't received those yet.
And I also want to say that was
I will,
that was a good course.
Excellent.
yeah, it was helpful, wasn't it?
Very helpful.
Good,
I thought that was great.
good. Okay. All right, well, that's all we have for tonight. So unless there's anything else, we could have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, Art makes a motion. George seconds. All in favor?
Hey.
All right, no opposition, so we're adjourned.